Watch this video, then we'll talk. This video gives me a level of peace.
I see a lot of like discourse on social media about young women being like, old women are so bitter and all this, and like so jealous and all this. And I think the
We're not
biggest,
jealous.
but also the biggest lie and the biggest mess up that patriarchy has done to young women is to make young women think old women are bitter when they give us valuable advice.
Absolutely.
Right? And I'm like, no, they've literally lived our lives. Listen. But the patriarchy's convinced young women that older women are bitter. And then men can do their bullshit on young women. And I'm always like, no, I will always listen to an older woman.
You are wise beyond your years.
And this is why I mentor. This is literally why I mentor. Like, it was such an affirming experience to watch this young woman share this valuable piece of knowledge, because that was done to me. Like that kind of older woman, that passing down of information was given to me, and then it helped me to make better decisions in my life, not just in regards to men, but in my life. And so when I mentor now, I pass it along. Hi, my name is Shayna. For those who are new here, I'm a journalist. I also talk a lot about decentering men and my child-free life. If any of that sounds like a vibe, please like, share, subscribe, and definitely type your thoughts away in the comment section if you want to be a part of this growing community. So here's a little bit about me growing up, right? I was that kid that always had mom friends. Like, I was in middle school with mom friends. Like, they just want to hang out with me. They're like, oh, Shayna, are you done with violin practice? Let's go grab a coffee. And I'm like, all right, I'm hanging out with Mama Vargas today. I'll see you later, Mom. I was that kid, right? And a lot of the moms that I would hang out with, some would be married, some would be single. There were also some like child-free women, older women that I would hang out with. Most of this was through the church that my family was a part of. But like, I really enjoyed that, but I think the passing down of information, it conceptually made sense to me. When one of the girls within the church who like was kind of in the church, also kind of not, she saw me one day and she was like, you're my little sister now. And she's still gorgeous. I remember being obsessed with her as a kid. Her name is Sushi. She is now married to like a distant cousin of mine. They have beautiful children, and like, she basically adopted me when I was in early middle school and she was in high school. And we would go and have like, I never drank coffee, so we'd have like tea dates, and she would just like bring me over to her house, and she'd be like, okay, like tell me about boys and things and like what school is like and all of that. And I was just like, oh my God, she wants to hear my thoughts about things. I've always been told I have too many thoughts. And I was like, so she wants to hear my thoughts? I just thought she was the coolest person ever. And so when I would share with her my thoughts about like boys that I was interested in and like whatever, she would tell me her honest opinion. And a lot of the times is, Shayna, you're better than that. Shayna, you're literally better than him. You're smarter than him. You're more accomplished than him. Please don't pursue that. Now, I could have taken that, especially in the beginning stages. I could have taken that and been like, oh, like she just doesn't want me to be happy, or oh, she's just mad because, and at that point she was single. And she wasn't dating anybody. It's like, oh, she could just be like, technically when you're like 11, 12 and you have like a 17, 18-year-old like mentoring you and saying these things to you. She was an older woman to me. It's like, oh, maybe she's just bitter and did it. Yes, that kind of language was around back in I don't remember what time frame that was, but I took it, and it gave me a new lens to look at the boys that I had crushes on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so much better than him. Like, I'm so much better than this romanticized situation that I thought I wanted. I don't want it no more. And then I got older, and then my mom friends started entering different phases of their lives too, and they would take me along the journey of these different phases of their lives, of the journey of what it's like when their kids get older, when they have like hard conversations with their kids, disagreements, when their kids start to act out, when, not that they would take me into their marriages, but they would be like, Shayna, if you want to get married, If you're looking for a partner, these are the things that I wish I knew when I was dating, that I wish I knew during my proposal, like my engagement period, that I wish I knew when I was single, so that way I can make the most out of my singlehood, because I can't do those things now. I got so much prime information that helped me to make better decisions about my life that I'm still using now. And I've held on to it without judgment. It's ancestral information. And now what I've been doing, some of my mom friends, like for example, I'm not gonna name names, but one of my mom friends, she has 2 daughters, and she has 3 kids, but like their middle child was really going through a hard time in high school, and there was some very big concerns about her. And one of my mom friends was like, Shayna, I really don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do, and I'm scared for her. Can you talk to her? Like, can you just hang out with her? And I was like, say less. I love you. I love your kids. I've hung out with her and I've hung out with her kids before. I was like, give me the baby. Give me the baby. Now, at this point, I was like 20. I don't know. I was in my 20s, and she was in like early high school. I think she was a freshman, and she was really going through it. And we just hung out. And we just hung out, and we talked about school, and we talked about boys, and we talked about whatever. And just in us talking, I was able to give her perspective. And that perspective, I have been, not to like gas myself up, but literally, I don't know if she would be here if it wasn't for that kind of perspective. And that's not about me. That's about the knowledge that has been passed down through me that I was able to give to her at this pivotal point in her life. So that way she wouldn't latch on to some boy or idea or fleeting notion that didn't have any substance to it when she was at such a pivotal point in her life. She was able to hold on to something with density, something with magnitude, something that was bigger than her and bigger than me and bigger than the moms that I spoke to, because they got it from moms who got it from moms who got it from. This was a lineage of information that was able to be given to a young woman at a critical point in her life. And I do believe that it saved her life. I also believe that men feel the magnitude of that kind of information, that men fear the magnitude of that kind of information, which is why they try to criminalize it, which is why they try to diminish it, which is why they try to make jokes out of it, which is why they try to separate women from women who have that kind of knowledge. So that way, 1, they can take advantage of young women, and 2, so that way it can not just take advantage of that young woman, but it also creates a space for a new generation of young women to be taken advantage of by a new generation of young men. It is the cutting off of that kind of information. I categorize it as another version of ancestral trauma. And I want it to be categorized as ancestral trauma in a communal sense, not necessarily in a personal sense, because the kinds of young women that I'm mentoring now, they're not all Black women. They're not all Caribbean women. They don't all look like me. Arguably, most of them don't look like me. That doesn't mean that the tradition of women passing down knowledge is not ancestral. And it's something that we've been cut off from for far too long, which means that there's now women that have to learn things for the first time ever that they could have never had to experience, that women decades, maybe even hundreds of years have experienced, but now they have to learn it for the first time. And and I'm going to briefly talk about interracial relationships within this context, right? I've been in several interracial relationships, and I've always had friends of the same background as the guy that I was dating. And it helps to give me insight into the cultural background of essentially men's tomfoolery. Because men are going to men wherever men exist. Right. At the end of the day, Ooga Booga's international. But when women date outside of their race, whatever their race is and the other person's race is, whatever their culture is and the other person's culture is, if a person is dating outside of their lived experience and they don't have a greater context for what that is, specifically through the women, whether that's not just like his mom and his sisters, but like the community, you can get the wool pull over your eyes and you wouldn't even know. And while this happens in all different kinds of people, I obviously see this more intimately and fascinatingly through the lens of a Black woman and what interracial dating, the experience of people outside of the Black experience dating, not dating kinds of Black men. Right? Now, what tends to happen because anti-Blackness is global and the patriarchy and misogyny is global, which means that misogyny against Black women specifically, is also a global phenomenon. And one way that this looks is that some men say, try to demonize Black women speaking their truth about what the nuancy problems are of dating within our own community. Right now, every community has this. But what I think is interesting about the Black woman's experience is that when we talk about it, even if we don't talk about it, there are men that say, oh, this is why I don't date Black women. And not just this is why I don't date Black women because insert some wild stereotype here that is not based in fact, but they also pit the women that is their preference against Black women to say, I like you because you're not a Black woman. I like you because you don't do these things that Black women do. And what that does is that informs Black women of, you know what? You don't need this information. You don't need this. Who am I? I am just a Black lady. You gonna figure it out. Stay blessed. Be blessed. And then give it a month, give it a year, give it who even knows. But they figure it out. And now once again, this is not against all Black men. But it's far too many. And this is what, from within my own community, I can talk about. This is an example of what happens when we let the patriarchy cut us off from necessary information. Because these kinds of men that I'm talking about, the anti-Black man, that there's such a deep level of self-hate that it takes to say that I will perpetuate a stereotype against the women who look like me for the sake of insert whatever, because at that point it's not even about the person that they're dating, it's about race, you can fill in that slot with whatever person it is, with whatever personality type. It don't even have to be complimentary as long as it's not a Black woman. They're like good to go. Which once again, deeply impersonal, very disrespectful to the woman involved. But some people really, listen, not my circus. But it's another example of how information gets lost. Necessary information for women to make appropriate decisions for their lives moving forward. Sometimes a man can cut it off. A man can try to cut it off. Only another woman can say, I don't want that information. Don't give me that information. I will hate you if you give me that information. I will insult you if you give me that information. I will belittle you. I will ostracize you if you give me that information, because I hear it in a lens that enrages me against you. Now, that's not to say that everybody that every piece of information from an older person is a good piece of information. You need to be able to identify who you are, what you need, and clear out the trauma lens so that way you can hear the good bits and identify who is really trying to help you better your life, who's trying to help you organize your steps in the best possible way. That takes a lot. That takes work. That takes work. Because not everybody that's trying to give you, not all information is good information, but when it's good information, bitch. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. Let me know your thoughts. Type them away in the comment section. And that is all. All right. Bye-bye.